Hi there. Today is Sunday, September 26th, 2021. So that makes this the week 38 Return to Creativity update with your hostess, Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com. Hi, how are you? And yes, I have a spider on my head. I found this in Walgreens when I went to pick up a prescription this week, and I was just like, yeah, why not? I mean, it's kinda like a little bit spider, a little bit like Medusa? I don't know. It's just something fun because, we have to find ways to have fun in this hellscape that we sometimes live in, you know? Oh, how has your week been? I hope you are finding some joy in it. I know times are tough. I do, and I know that toxic positivity is a thing, and we don't want to invalidate when someone is going through some shit. At the same time, I'm hoping that there are bright spots because let's face it, the bright spots are what help us get through the dystopian nightmare that sometimes it feels like our world is. um, so as for myself, let's see. This week has been one of those low motivation weeks, and for reasons. It happens. It happens about every month if you catch my drift, ish. Um, but I haven't let that stop me, and that's the important thing. I have given myself time to rest, but I have also kept pushing forward with my goals. The primary project this week has been completing the illustrations for the coloring book, which I will put a picture of all 20 images. So there's going to be 20 individual images or individual unique pages for the coloring book. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate them. So each image will be in there twice. I have some coloring books that do this, and I think it's kinda cool cool because it's like, if you're like, "Ooh, I really like this page, but I don't know if I wanna color it yet. I wanna save it." Well, this gives you, like, 2 options, so or you can, do one in marker, do one in colored pencil or crayon. You could share it, if you've got, more than one person in your house who, likes to color, then, I think this is a good way for me not to, overdo it while still offering a good-sized coloring book. So, that was the main goal this week, and I achieved it. Yay! Whoops. I really need to stop hitting my pop screen. Alright, so, in addition to that, the book work on book 1 continues. I can't remember if I showed the cover last week or not. I don't know if it was to a point where I could show it yet, but I will show it now. There you go. Yes, it's been revised a couple of times. And let me tell you a story about that. So about midweek, I had finished, the cover, not this version. It was a kind of a middle version. And I thought I had one that, ticked the boxes I needed it to. And I'd been working on my book blurb, which is like the back of the book copy or the description on the website kind of deal. And it's very important. It's very important to get it right because from what from what I'm learning, and it does jive with how how I know I shop, and therefore probably a lot of other people too. You see a book cover or title that catches your eye, and then you read the description, right? Or if you're in the store, you flip over the back of the book and read the blurb. And if it intrigues you enough, then you'll buy the book, or then you'll want to read the book. Well, I needed to make sure that I was hitting the right spot marks. And so I am in several like Facebook groups and other groups and forums and stuff that specialize in this sort of thing. And so I posted the cover and the book blurb so that I could get feedback. That was the point. The minute I posted in the first group, I felt like that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. As I posted it to the other groups that I was in so I could hopefully get a decent amount of feedback, and the feedback started coming in, and it was constructive feedback. It wasn't mean, it wasn't wrong, it was things I needed to hear and needed to know so that I could make it better. So that I can make the book more enticing and represent the book correctly. Because that was one of the things I found out is like, okay, I thought this was clever and it was hitting this mark, and there were reasons for everything I did, but me knowing the reasons is not going to it did not translate to someone who knew nothing about the book. And so I needed to know that so that I could fix it. And I told myself this, and I knew this, but when I say imposter syndrome settled on my shoulders, oh my God, I knew exactly what was happening. I recognized it the moment it started to happen. I'm like, okay, imposter syndrome is like self doubt on steroids. This imposter syndrome was self-doubt on steroids on PCP. I mean, there was no stopping it. Another metaphor is like it was basically a hurricane just bearing down on me. And here's the thing about storms. Those of us who live in hurricane country, or you might live in you know wildfire country, there's different catastrophes throughout the world. And a lot of things they show up, and you can prepare for them. You can acknowledge them, but you can't stop them. I mean, you can get out of their way, but sometimes getting out of their way, in this case, getting out of the way of imposter syndrome would mean not doing what I want to do. And that's no good. That's not an option for me right now. So, I mean, I suppose it is. Technically it is, but it's not an option I'm going to take. Let's put it that way. So, I knew what it was. I had prepared for it, in my case, almost a year in therapy now, medication, doing the work on myself so that I recognize when this stuff starts to happen and what it is, and having coping mechanisms. But all of that aside, when the storm hits, all you can do, hunker down and ride it out. And so that's what I did. And, you know, I I kept telling myself that this is just temporary. This is just what it is. It's not permanent. I'm not a failure. I'm not wrong. Just reminding myself over and over through the tears, through the panic, through the anxiety. And I got through it. And then I was like, okay, a little bit better, a little bit calmer got something to eat, drink. And I'm like, okay, I'm really exhausted because going through something like that, any kind of emotional turmoil is exhausting. But, I knew that if I went straight to bed. Oh, I also talked about it with my partners and stuff. I mean, but I knew that if I went straight to bed, I'd still have all of that stuff up in my head, and and there was a good chance that I could have another maybe a smaller but still significant anxiety attack, when I tried to go to sleep, when I didn't have distractions. Um, so I knew I needed to do something. And I didn't definitely wasn't gonna write anything. That was the other thing. I knew I wasn't gonna start editing the cover or the, book blurb that night. There was no reason to do that to myself. Again, going back to the storm metaphor you triage the stuff like if your house gets damaged in a hurricane and you might have to board up a window, you might have to put a tarp up, you might have to put some buckets out but you don't start the major repairs until you've had a chance to rest and calmly take in the scene. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to stress about that. I acknowledge that the feedback's coming in. It's what I need to know. I'm going to let it sit, and I'll come back tomorrow or the next day. But I knew I needed to do something. And I'd already done my drawings for the day. I didn't really feel like doing anything regarding the computer, really. So, just the night before, I had randomly looked up corner to corner crochet because it was something that I knew existed, but I'd never actually done. And so I was curious how it came together. So I looked it up. I'd read through the description, and I'd also gone to the Dollar Tree in the week, looking for one thing. Didn't find it, but I did find some of this Premier Just Cotton, and it's this pretty like sage green color, and which I very much like for the kitchen. So I got some of it to make probably some like kitchen towels or something with. And so I decided, okay, that's a good thing. I am going to figure out how to do corner to corner crochet. And I did. I made this little 8-inch, like basically like washcloth or something, using, I think it's called the diagonal, ooh, what's it called? Block stitch or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I figured it out. And there's something for me, there's something really comforting in the tactile sensations of doing fiber work. And because the stitches are not difficult. They're stitches that I've done since I was a child. It's chain stitch and double crochet and slip stitches. Those are simple if you know how to crochet. It was just how to put it together and how to string the groups of stitches together that I didn't know. So it was a simple enough project that I could do it without putting a massive amount of energy or brain power into, which I was already kind of low on thanks to the turmoil of imposter syndrome. But it was new enough that it used, it used the information I already had, but it used it in different ways. So it was new enough where I did have to concentrate a little bit, and it was a great distraction. And it, the yarn is very, very soft. It's 85% cotton, 15% polyester. So it's the polyester kind of gives it a little bit, not really stretch, but it helps it with the drape, it helps it with the softness. And yeah, so now I have like a little, cloth for the kitchen. And I plan on making more like dish towels and whatnot. But that was what I needed to kind of help reset my brain, to reset myself, so that then when I was ready, I could go to bed and, you know, not be so keyed up, not be so tense. So yeah, that happened. And things have been okay since then. It's been okay. Like I said, I've been working on, put the feedback out. I've revised the cover, which, I had shown that. I'm still tweaking the book blurb, but I feel much more confident in it now that I've gotten that feedback, and I know the mistakes I made based on the instructions I had on how to write a book blurb, because I did that. I researched that bad boy, and everybody seemed to be saying the same thing. So I'm like, all right, and I looked at examples, and but there's still a way, there's still, when you're the author and you know the story behind it, it's still very easy to kind of get a little lost. Speaking of which, beta readers, I've sent out my book to some beta readers, so I expect to have feedback in another week or so that I can polish up what needs to be polished for a book one. Book two is ready to be edited, and book three, I started the plotting and the character designations and development on that. I've also learned that it's a really good idea to start with a book blurb. That way, you kind of have it done beforehand. You tweak it, of course, because the story can change. But yeah. So speaking of fiber work, though, I continued on Friday night. I continued to work on the Magical Thinking pullover shawl. And I'm trying to show this without losing my little stitch marker. But whoops. Here is the extent of this. So this is the part that, would be around the neck. And then then this is the part that comes down. It's harder to see when it's bunched up on the needles, but I'm gonna, again, trying not to lose the stitch marker. But you can see here along the center spine, well, it's actually one of the sides, where it's been growing. That's where all the increases are, and I'm really loving this kind of like subtle ridge that some of the stitch combinations are um, creating, and it's a really fun project to work on. Again, it's not super difficult, or it's not going to drain your brain, but it is something nice and comforting to have my hands in every week. Now, I know last week I'd said something about, how far I had to go. It has to get up to like 319 stitches or something. I am now up to 193. So that's how far I am increase wise. So yeah, that's going well. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? So I've already been to I've already been to pick up my grocery order this week. I'll do meal preps on Monday. I've decided, since I have the luxury of time, that has worked really well for me. Um, and then I can also kind of prep Monday night's dinner as part of that. Um, let's see. I think I think that's the main update. This coming week, of course, I need to finalize the coloring book, the Posh Pumpkins coloring book. I have 4 of the 20 images that I need to color for the cover and back cover. And then, fortunately, since I did the Sammy coloring book, I'm already, I've almost have a template for this that I can just kind of, I can, just use that as my guideline. Um, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Excuse me, hiccups. And yeah, so I'll be getting that put together so that come the very beginning of October, the goal is to have that available for purchase, just in time, plenty of time for Halloween. But of course, not all of the images are Halloween themed. They're great for fall or anytime, I think. So yeah, that is my update. Yeah, I'll get the coloring book finalized this week. I am going to finish my prep plotting on book 3 and go ahead and start um brain oof, start the editing, the on paper editing for book 2. And yeah, oh, and then October 1st starts Inktober. So I am planning on to participate in Inktober this year, and I have a theme in mind. I'm doing faces, all faces this year. I want to do a different like face or portrait each day of the month, and kind of get better at drawing different types of faces, different facial poses, different angles. Um, because when I was doing the comic, I developed kind of a shorthand or a style, but it's basically a shorthand for drawing faces, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it is limited. And so I would like to do more of that and kind of just stretch my skills a little bit. So I do have some reference photos picked out. I think I've got like twice what I need, and I will be following the prompt list that the Inktober creator puts out every year. And so I'll be incorporating those prompts with the reference photos of faces to make an overall picture. So I will be streaming those on Twitch. Again, I stream on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays between 2 and 4. That's 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time right now. We have not switched back to standard yet. And I may or may not be streaming some of the other days, just kind of it depends on whether I feel up to being on camera while I draw, or I may just opt to, like, screen record and then put the videos up on Twitch or YouTube or something. I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet. At any rate, this video has been about 20 minutes now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I am gonna sign off now. Oh gosh, excuse me. I'm gonna sign off now and wish you a happy week to come. We are now in, or we are about to enter into a Mercury retrograde. So again, deep breaths before we respond to people. Presume people, if there's a way that you can take what they've said as it not being caustic or insulting, opt for that if you can, and back up your computers and just, take a little extra time when we're communicating over the next few weeks. All right. Hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.